Hello and welcome to this exclusive roundtable event brought to you by the B1M in association with Bluebeam. The construction industry is experiencing a digital revolution. From collaborating in the cloud and developing digital twins of entire built assets to the rise of wearables, robotics and even artificial intelligence, technology is really affecting how people work in the industry, improving efficiency and productivity. That matters to all of us because the construction industry impacts everyone's lives and affects pretty much what everyone does on planet Earth. In that digital context, we're going to explore how people communicate in the industry, particularly with regards to design review standards. So in 2017, 5 of Sweden's largest general contractors put aside their competition to come up with a set of design review standards that would make everyone's lives easier and much more efficient. So today we're going to look at how that can be applied in the UK industry market, but also probably draw some conclusions that could be applied in other markets around the world. To enable that to happen, I'm very proud to say that we've got 4 of the UK's largest contractors all with us today and all sat round the same table. Andrew Gamblin, who is Digital Manager at Wilmot Dixon in Hitchin, Vicky Holmes, Learning Partner at Multiplex, Rennie Chadwick, who is Chief Operating Officer at Osborne, and Jimmy Forsberg, who is Development Leader at Skanska. So Jimmy, I really want to turn to you first because obviously the work you've done in Sweden is phenomenal and it's why we're all sat here today. Can you tell us a bit about what you did and the impact it's had?
Yeah, sure. We actually, Skanska, me and my colleague Emil, were approached by a competitor at a conference in Stockholm. We both came to the conclusion we are doing design review in Bluebeam, and we have the standard within each company. We realized we are doing very much the same thing with minor sort of tweaks or adjustments. We thought, okay, why don't we try to standardize this?
Absolutely, so it wasn't necessarily that you'd set out and come together just because you're using Bluebeam. You came together from that approach you were taking to wanting to solve a problem. It just so happened that you were all using Bluebeam.
So exactly, So we started to call up people and email people, and that's when we sort of realized we have brought together the 5 biggest contractors in Sweden to discuss a standardization when it comes to design review in Bluebeam.
I mean, just to clarify for some of our viewers that might not know, when we're talking about design review in a digital context, we're largely talking about marking up of PDFs and that sort of thing?
Yeah, exactly. We use a common data environment within Bluebeam, Bluebeam Studio, where we have the possibility to upload binders with PDFs from each discipline, and then we enable the sort of the design review with the help of a tool chest, markups connected to statuses and color change. And those markup tools are then sort of attached to different statuses, and those statuses have different colors. So if you were to put a new markup out on a drawing, it gets the status new comments. If you change the status to, let's say, needs to get fixed or something like that, it then changes color as well. So you get a visual aspect of which has been approved, which do I need to look at again? Is there any of my things that needs to go through a new review, for example? And when working in Bluebeam Studio, everybody can collaborate on the same document, so we don't have to have 12 sets of the same drawings. Yeah.
So I think obviously listening to you, Jimmy, the work you've done is fantastic, and I think on one level it sounds very obvious and straightforward when you've got 5 of the biggest contractors in an industry who all use the same subcontractors, working in the same way and having a standard way of reviewing design makes everyone's lives easier. It might sound obvious, people outside the industry watching who think that's how the industry works. Unfortunately, it isn't how it works. There's lots of standards between different organisations and different supply chains, even though there's a lot of overlap between all those businesses. And I think really listening to it, I'm processing the barriers in my own head in the UK industry. It's less about technology and just more about culture, behaviour, vested interest, collaboration, those sort of things.
Well, that's a good point, Fred, because I think we can sit here and kind of frame a mindset around us not collaborating all the time, but actually there are lots of circumstances where different combinations of companies in the industry do collaborate. So framework level, we have collaboration of companies that maintain the assets for Highways England and for Network Rail. So it's a behaviour we can demonstrate when we put our minds to it. But our kind of default seems to be, well, other than that, we need to be in a competitive mode, and that's clearly not where we are with digital construction, because we're all learning how to do it at different rates maybe, but all on a journey to becoming more efficient and productive as a consequence.
It's interesting. Along the lines of collaboration, the other keyword that's often thrown around when we're talking about digital construction is standardization as well. And from the perspective of a client, you will often have conversations with people who say, well, I've had the same contractor on 3 of my jobs, and even that contractor within the different projects have different sets of standards for each of those. And so it might seem like a huge ask to get organizations to collaborate with each other. Sometimes it's actually about asking organizations to collaborate within its own environment as well, figure out what its own standards and processes are. So maybe actually coming up with something industry-wide would assist organizations maybe who are very large, have lots of projects and a bit of disparity there, to begin to standardize, because somebody else has almost done the legwork for them.
Do you think we have the kind of base level of digital fluency in the UK for something like the work that Jimmy's done to be applied in this market? I mean, do we need to take a step back and look at the base level of digital construction adoption first before we can move on to design review standards?
I don't think we need to worry about the base level of adoption of digital construction, because the reality is, and I've had experience of this, people who have been skeptical about the whole digital construction, the reason why they're skeptical is because they haven't found that one thing that effectively sparks the light in their mind. So you find that one aspect, whether that be something like simply showing scaffold in 3D, or whether it be as simple as there's a clash detection between what's in front of a window, you know, that they wouldn't necessarily have thought of before. All of a sudden, you get that one item and they start getting more involved, and they want to know more and they want to find out more. So having a group of contractors or clients, consultants, everyone like that, working on a standardization process which harnesses this digital stuff, eventually it will filter down, because people will realize actually it works and it is more efficient, and you don't have consultants understand, consultants and supply chain, they all understand what it is that's being pushed back to them. They understand what the comment is, they understand where things are going, and so it just makes everyone's lives easier.
It takes away that need for someone to take responsibility as well, because a big problem as a tier 1 contractor is trying to identify, if you haven't inherited the information that you need for a digital project, how much is it your responsibility to bring that information up to standard, and how much of your money do you need to be spending to create that baseline? And so I think there are elements of standardization that can take away that concern for a contractor or a consultant. And
I think this whole topic of collaboration with the design review standards can be adapted to other aspects of digital construction, which would make the whole UK industry that much easier to work within. If there was standardized parameters that need to be within models, or standardized methods of drawing, for example, for different elements within a model, you create that base set of data that everyone can manipulate. And you're not losing any competitive edge between contractors, because it's how you manipulate that data and how you utilize that data that provides you the productivity and the efficiency moving forwards. And that's what I mean, this is kind of like a leading light in terms of the world, if you want to call it that, of what can be done between large contractors. I mean, go back 15 years ago.
We had this discussion many times, okay, are we sort of, how do you say, killing our competitive advantage in this case? Just by sitting down at a table, talking about stuff, doesn't mean we're sort of selling our soul to whomever it might be. It's, and then taking it from there.
I think businesses, they're not really competing on that basis.
No, exactly. It's quality, it's environments, it's safety, it's how efficient we are, money, time, budget, everything like that.
And I think that's one of the really nice things about the design review standards that you've developed is that it's giving people a way into what we are talking about as digital construction that doesn't have a badge on it.
No.
You know, it's just using technology to do something they have to do anyway better. And that's the way I see things. I see things progressing. I mean, most of the people that work in our industry already have a phenomenal bit of tech they carry around in their pocket all the time. You know, it's 300 times more powerful than the thing that sent man to the moon. So those, you know, the access bit is not really the issue. It's the understanding. Okay, how can we use what we've got ready access to make what we have to do easier?
I mean, building on the success that you've had in Sweden, I know it's an ongoing project, and also listening to the kind of the context we've discussed about the UK industry, what are the first practical steps you could take to bring this into the UK or into any other market around the world?
I think this is the first step, isn't it?
Yeah, good one.
Yeah, as you said, there's 4 contractors that are sitting here that are willing to discuss this and have a discussion about it. And I know for one, I'll probably be speaking to all 3 of my compatriots here to see if we can organise some kind of a sit down after this. I mean, it's something that needs to be done. It needs to be pushed forwards. There needs to be some proper collaboration going on.
I feel like you guys have done a lot of the dangerous stuff for us, because there's an attitude in the UK, I believe, among contractors where you don't want to be the first one to stick your head above the parapet, but then you also don't want to be the one that gets left behind. So we're constantly doing this dance of, we want to innovate. But we don't want to innovate too much. What's everybody else doing? And now we can say, well, that actually has already been done. We're just following that lead. It's not one business in the UK going, guys, we should do this. Everyone turning around and going, no, and them going, oh, okay.
I do it myself then.
We should say as well, I mean, today's conversation is certainly not exclusive to this table. We really want this to be a vehicle for broadening the conversation in the UK industry. So if you are working for another large general contractor in the UK, please do contact us, please do get involved, because we'd love to get a much bigger roundtable. So thank you so much for being with us today, guys. I've really enjoyed our conversation. We hope you've enjoyed watching it as well. I think there's a few takeaways. First of all, some phenomenal work has been done in Sweden, and I think it's really underlined the fact that this is not something that contractors necessarily compete on. It's a shared problem that everyone's experiencing that is, in a way, the bane of everyone's life. And the work you've done can really take that problem away for everyone. And that matters to pretty much any individual watching this video, because the work this industry does affects everyone's lives. And if we can do what we do in a higher quality, more efficient way, that will impact everybody's lives. So that's really important. I think we've also explored some of the kind of UK industry context. We've looked at some of the dynamics there, some of the barriers, but also some of the opportunities. So it's not all doom and gloom. There are some really good things we do. I think that Rennie was saying around collaboration as well, that are really good building blocks that we can start to take forward. This has been proven in Sweden. There's a great case study there, and we'd love to see it come into the UK market. The loudest message we want to come loud and clear from this table is that the conversation is not limited to the people you can currently see in this video. We want this to go wider than today. We really want more people involved. We want this to have a tangible impact in the UK industry. So if you'd like to get involved, please do message us and we will take that forward. Likewise, whatever country you're watching this in, if the tools and advice we've discussed today would be helpful for you, then please get going. If we could eventually get to some sort of global set of design review standards one day, that would be quite an achievement. As always, guys, thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, you can subscribe to the B1M.